Well, what a pleasure to be here and be with you all for this hour and share the time together. And I hope I can share something of value with you today. And I will, I think, give just a little bit of background, but the hour is mainly experiential. I'm going to share with you some awareness exercises that enable us to access that place within us that I believe we all know that is nearer to us than our breathing, which I think is at the heart of all the great spiritual traditions, this recognition of what I sometimes call my true nature, my nature, our nature, what we have in common. And I'll just say actually something about that tradition. That what I will be sharing in the hour is hopefully giving you even more tools to access that place. Because that's the point, is to access it and live from it and enjoy it. But anyway, just backing out of that just for a moment, the great spiritual traditions, I think, all point in their different ways to this treasure within each of us. And it goes by many different names, I suppose. I would say essentially it's non-verbal, so you can call it what you like. And but the consensus, which we will be testing, as it were, the consensus is this place within all of us is boundless, and it's still. And it's the stillness that is symbolized by the hub of a wheel. In other words, it's a stillness in the heart of movement. And it is spacious like the sky, but full of the clouds and everything. It's not just an empty, it's full. So this is just a metaphor. But I just say something about that, that when you deepen your awareness of this place nearer to you than your breathing, nearer to me than my breathing, and live from it and enjoy it, it is highly practical. Hugely beneficial, because given that image of the hub of the turning wheel, actually the wheel can't exist without the hub, and the hub is meaningless without the rest of the wheel. But to be aware of the hub is to find a stillness within you that is so energizing. It's not a detached kind of moving away from the world. So anyway, when I was very young, I was reading up on these things when I was a teenager, and I was interested in this idea, and I was reading up on Buddhism and Hinduism and so on, and it was the late 60s, so things were coming into the West about other religions than Christianity, and I was really interested. And for whatever reason, I was just determined. I was just determined to know that place. It just seemed so brilliant for 1,000 reasons. Enlightenment, whatever. And I went on a Buddhist course when I was 17 with my brother in England. And at this course, there was a guy called Douglas Harding. I'd never heard of him. And I was a shy teenager. And someone just said, oh, go along to his meeting. So you're just having a meeting. And I went along. And Douglas, in that hour or whatever it was, did a few awareness exercises with everyone that made my boundless true nature accessible. And he then said to anyone, and I'm going to share some of these things with you. I'm just whetting your appetite, I hope. He said, anyone interested in this, come and visit. this was in England. He lived in Suffolk. And as someone said, I went to Cambridge. It was not far from where he lived. So I used to go down every other weekend when I was at Cambridge. And it was not it was not a business. It was not hierarchical. You went as a friend. You hung out with other people. And one of the things I found was that hanging out with others who were enjoying their true nature was hugely supportive and infectious. And I have lived with this all my life, and I can't tell you how just wonderfully supportive and therapeutic and interesting and inspiring it is to be in touch. And I'm sure you know this. What I'm going to share with you today is just another way into that place that is so familiar to us all, I think. And my work these days is to go round sharing these simple little awareness exercises that give access, yet, another way into this place. And then I enjoy making friends who value this. So I hope to make some friends today. That's my agenda. Anyway, let me now just share with you a few things. So the idea is that when you look out at the world, when you look at the screen now, when you look anywhere, you're looking out. And a view out is very complicated and changing. And so you can observe that now. And I would even include my thoughts and feelings as objects, a kind of things I'm aware of. See? And what I am going to explore today is the view in, the view in. And the view in, or a way into that view in. And the things I'm going to do are not primarily thinking, but like a child, looking, see. So I'm going to ask you to do some simple awareness exercises, and I'm going to just do quite a few probably, and just take you on a bit of a journey and see if this helps you have even more access to that resource within you that is so useful. Yeah, useful. So what I would like you to do, and I hope you'll play along, is use your finger to point out. So this is where we go back to being about 5 years old. And I often say, if you're in a class of 5-year-olds and say, anyone want to point their finger out? Everyone goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, so like that. So take your finger, and you can do it below the screen if you don't want to be seen on the screen, right? So I'm going to do it above, but you can do it below. I fully understand, you see, because I just want you to point out at the world. And notice whatever you're pointing at is a thing. And it's got color and shape. So meditation is attention, and mindfulness is attention. So what I'm asking you to do is direct your attention, and you might direct it at a chair or a tree or the keyboard or the table. See? And I'd like you just focus on one thing, just point at one thing. I'm pointing at a part of the desk. And just notice what you're looking at. And it is basically a nonverbal experience. So, treat this as meditation or mindfulness if you like. And you don't have to know how that thing was made. You don't have to understand its structure to see it. You don't even have to like it to see it. You don't even have to have any words at all about it to see it. It is primarily, I would say, a nonverbal experience, and then in come the words and the emotions, reactions, and so on. That's the view out. Now I'm going to ask you to point back at the place you're looking out of. So I'm going to do it so you can see, but as I say, do it below the line of the computer, camera if you like. Point back. And I'm going to describe what I see and see if you understand what I'm talking about. Well, the place I'm pointing at now is quite different from the wood of the desk I was pointing at, because I can see nothing here. I can see nothing. I can't see my face. I can't see my head. I can't see any colors or shapes or movement. And I submit to you that you're now pointing at a very special place. See, point back out, look back out, and whatever you're pointing at, all those colors and shapes and complications and movement and history and all of that, anywhere you look out, 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 out. Now again, look back or point back to help you find this place where you see nothing. See, or I see nothing. And this is a fast-track way in to that so-called emptiness, that so-called stillness, that so-called silence. See? And it is non-verbal, and you don't have to understand anything about it to see it. You don't have to even like it to see it. Now I'm going to ask you to point two ways. So this is an idea I will be using throughout the hour, two-way direction. So you see what I'm doing, but then I have to line it up, and again, you can do it below if you want, line up to articulate this two-way thing, the view out and the view in, you see. And so when I'm doing this, in the view out, I can see the screen, or I can see the trees out the window, or I can see all those other things. See? But the view in, wherever I point, the view in is always kind of invisible or spacious or empty or faceless. Faceless. See? And this, I say, is like that hub of the turning world. The view out is moving all the time. Things are moving. But at center, I find no movement. Now, simple or what, you see? Simple or what? In Tibetan Buddhism, apparently they have pointing out instructions. I've got friends who are Tibetan Buddhists. And these pointing out instructions are pointing out exercises or directions to find your true nature. See? Well, this is a modern pointing in instruction, pointing in to what is known as our true nature. And it doesn't have my face on it, my name on it, or I submit, it doesn't have your face or name or nationality. It's what we all have in common. So, this is a kind of showing you a portal. I'll say something about the kind of how this makes sense in a minute, but I want to just show you a few ways in, a few other ways in, portals into this clarity, emptiness, spaciousness, stillness, you see. And then also introduce you to what I think are some of the fantastic benefits of being aware of this, see. But here's another one, and this one might be, well, hold your hands out in front of you. There's two things. There's a kid stuff again, see, and you can see your hands, and you can see a gap between your hands, and I've got a number of faces on the screen between. Now, what the whole point of these awareness exercises is to guide our attention back to that openness, because we're so used to looking out, we overlook this place that is nearer to you than you're breathing. So you see your hands. Now, like me, you're going to move them back either side of your head, but look at what happens from the first person, your point of view. Your hands get bigger and bigger and bigger, wider and wider apart, and then they start to disappear, and you keep going, and you can put your hands into the great void, all the way to the wrist, probably, you see. See, and now bring them forwards, just look ahead, and they come magically out of nothing. And there's one other thing I'd like you to do if you're up for playing, is to put your hand like horse blinders or horse blinkers. And just notice your hands are like giant's hands, huge, going from the ceiling to the floor. And between your hands, I don't see my face. I just see the world. See, a portal into this openness. Now, the man who introduced this, Douglas Harding, he died about 20 years ago. He was a very good friend of mine. When he found this, when he noticed he couldn't see his head, it was actually in India in 1943 during the war. And he had been asking this question, what am I, for 10 years and working on it intensely. I mean, doing a lot of writing. And he'd written a book based on this sort of, that wasn't published some 10 years before, in 1933 in England. And what he had grown up in a strict fundamentalist Christian group. His father was the local leader. And he left when he was 21, and he was the worst case they'd ever had. The reason he left, essentially, was he couldn't accept that they claimed to have the truth, and he couldn't accept that they were right just because they said they were. And they didn't like that, you see. And so then he went to London. He got a scholarship and trained as an architect. And while he was in London, this question about who he was began to emerge. He had this basic curiosity about himself. And I caught it from him, I think. I mean, I think we all have it. But this kind of feeling that maybe not everything is exactly as you've been told it is, or how amazing it is just to be alive. You know, I mean, how did that happen? You know, I mean, all of these kinds of questions. But he didn't want to just accept someone else's theory, having rejected his father's faith in that way. He didn't want to take on another. He wanted to look for himself, and he used the observations of science. So I won't spend a lot of time with this, but I just want to give you some background and show how it makes sense in a way if you're curious in that way. When he was only about 23, he was in London. He's thinking, "Oh my God, what am I? You know, how?" And my God, science tells me I'm not just a person. I'm made of billions of little cells that are all alive. And when I do this, they all work together. How can that be? That's extraordinary. You see, suddenly he realized he wasn't it wasn't quite enough to say I'm a person. And then he realized he was like a cell in the body of society. And this was recognizing that what he was changed with range. This is applying relativity to yourself, that what your appearance is, what your body is, changes with range. And then he took that further. So the cells, if you go up to them, are made of molecules. If you go up to, it was applying itself. If you go up to me, you lose Richard and you find I'm cells. But if you come closer, I'm molecules that almost disappear. Because if I am asking the question, what am I? Because I'm curious. And I ask you to help me. What am I? And I discover that what you tell me I am changes with range. And you go away, and eventually I become the planet, the star, the galaxy. So by the time he got to India, he'd been working on this for 10 years and realizing he had layers. And we think and feel for these layers, for my body, my family, my country, my planet, and all of that. But the obvious question in a way is, what's at the center of all these layers? It is another way of asking the question, who am I? What am I? You see. And he understood that as the observer came up, he disappeared. But what was he at the center? Because it seemed that the outside observer could never quite get right into the center. But as close as the observer came, it seemed like nothing. And all the great traditions tell you it's a kind of nothing, an emptiness, a void. But he didn't want to accept it just because someone said it was that. it all made sense that at the heart of himself, nearer to him than his breathing, was this mystery, this incredible mystery of being, you see. And then one day, there's a bit of a story behind it, but I don't have time to go into it. All he did was he looked down at his body and he saw his legs and he saw his arms and he saw his torso, and noticed he couldn't see his head, you see. In other words, he looked for himself at the place he was looking out of, where everyone else saw a head or a cell or a planet, and he looked for himself. He said, oh, it's empty. It's absolutely clear and empty, you see, in this direction, but full of the world, from his body to the garden, to the clouds, to the all the way out to the furthest galaxy. And then he spent another 10 years writing, working out how it made sense, a kind of modern worldview based on acknowledging the first person point of view, your point of view, see. So that's a bit of background. I'm going to give you one other bit of background, and then I'm going to take you into some other awareness exercises. Actually, I'm going to share something else with you, experience. So, when I notice I can't see my own face, see, which I'm doing now, see, and I look at all of you, for a start, I can see Richard on the screen. So I do have a face, but it's out there at that range, not at center, you see. It's there. The old man isn't here, he's there, see, which is quite a relief not to have him at center. And when I look at you, you see, because I see I've no face here, no face, instead I've got yours. And we call it face to no face. So let's say I pick one of you. I won't say which one and embarrass you. You can pick me if you like. And this is a mindfulness exercise. When you look at me, notice, I suggest you can't see your own face at the same time. Now, you can see it on the screen. Yeah, it's out there, but I'm talking about the place you're looking from is face free. So we call it face to no face, or be space to face, or being capacity for the other. Now, if you are interested, I'm sure you are, in relating better to others, I find that what gets in the way is me, and the idea of me, and the worry about what you're thinking about me, and all of that, you see. Half my attention is on my self-image, and it's getting in the way, and I don't even see you. So no wonder if I'm projecting all kinds of stuff on you, and it's all getting in the way, and I'm not, you see, I'm in my own way. Now, how can we get out of the way? Well, the Headless Way gives you a fast track way of doing that. You just see your head's not there. It's over there in the mirror, or other people can see it, but here it's gone. And when I'm then looking at you or with someone, I'm consciously seeing I'm out of the way. And this clears the decks. It's spacious and it's safe. It's safe. There's nothing here to kind of worry about in that sense. And I find that because there's nothing here, I'm attending to you. I'm listening to you, your voice. I'm aware of you now, not how I think you were from 10 years ago. So this is a friend, I did a workshop last weekend here, and someone said, so how can I keep this going? How can I bring this, what I would say, incredible resource, this awakeness, this aliveness to this openness into my life? She said she'd got 2 young children. I said, whenever you're with your children, enjoy having their faces. See, face to no face. You don't have to say anything. Or whenever you're with anyone, get out of the way or see you're out of the way. It's the most loving, non-intrusive, attentive, respectful thing. See? And the other thing I'll say about this is that this is not an achievement. I I suggest you've never ever seen your face there. And you're just being aware of this fact and hopefully finding some value and meaning in it. I find immense value and meaning. So I'm hoping to inspire you with its practicality today. Yeah. So we'll do something with eyes closed in a minute. But before that, I'd just like to introduce you to another open eye way of becoming aware of this openness, this stillness at the heart of the turning world, this way that you can get out of the way so you can actually enjoy those you're with rather than just kind of be in a dream. And we call this one the single eye. And then we'll do a few closed eyes. So when you look at me, you see two eyes. And you know when you look in the mirror, you've got two eyes. But I'm going to suggest that privately, from your point of view, looking out of one eye. And if you put your hands like this, so again, you have to be like a 5-year-old, and you see two holes there with the dividing line. You can put your fingers together, you see a dividing line. And now put them on like glasses, you see, and notice what happens to the dividing line. You put them right on, and the dividing line disappears, and the two become one. And that's just bringing your attention to the fact that there's one opening. So again, put your hands like this and just see that they disappear all the way around. So I'm calling that a single eye. It's not an eye, it's an opening. And your hands just disappear. See? So I'm going to, mindfulness here, I'm going to invite you to notice a couple of things about what I'm calling the single eye. So again, you don't have to do this. I'll just remind you of the view out and the view in. And the view out and the view in are opposites. So I see things, no thing. Color, no color. Movement, no movement. You see shapes, no shape. But I find I can distinguish between the out and the in, but no way of dividing those two sides. They come together, you see. So the view out, I'm going to call the field of vision. So here's this is like a nature study course, and we're going out into the field, and I'm going to show you a couple of things to notice about the environment, you see. So you're going to be about 5 years old. So first of all is the shape of the field of view. So the view out, visually, I'm going to call the field of view. Yeah. And to begin with, if you just look at one of the rectangles on the screen, say, or any object really, notice it's got a boundary. I'm going to call that edge a sort of hard edge. It's got a clear boundary. And say you're looking at me, as an object, you can see my boundary, mentally make a boundary around me. And then Richard is on the inside of this boundary, and everything else in the world is outside, and that's the boundary. And there's always something on the other side of my boundary, wherever. Or this picture here, this hanging, or anything you look at, the edge of the screen, you see, there's something on the other side. Now, kind of relax your attention and just be aware of the whole field of view. And we call this panoramic or soft eyes or wide-eyed. And be aware that whatever you're looking at is right in the center of field of vision. If you look at something else, that's now right in the center. See? So now just choose something, it doesn't matter what it is, and become aware of the whole field of view and notice that it fades out all the way around. And that I'm going to call a soft edge, because I'm going to suggest that it's quite a unique edge. Because as we explored a moment ago, every edge that you can look at within the view has got something on the other side. But I can see nothing around this edge. I can't find a kind of blue line around it or a green area above it or below it. It's just in the middle of nothing. See? And I'm just putting words on this non-verbal experience. But that edge isn't a kind of really clear edge with something on the other. It just fades out. So the whole view, to put it in words, is kind of floating in nothing or in consciousness. or in the great void. All right, that's the first thing. It's just there, see, and we overlook this because society tells us it's not important and it's of no value. I'm saying it's hugely important and of great value to become aware that this space you're looking out of is just single. See? Because if you now look at two objects in your field of view, we'll go to size now, you can compare their size. And one is bigger or smaller than the other, I suppose. And any two objects, you say, well, you can compare their size. Now be aware of the whole field of vision. How big is it? Well, there is not a second to compare it with. It's single. It's single. And they talk about the one consciousness, the one. Now, in your own experience, how many consciousnesses do you experience? You say, well, I call this consciousness, full of whatever's going on. And it's just, in my experience, one. I hear about yours, but firsthand, just one. You know, just to give you my own response to that, is that becoming aware of the aspect of that point of view that there's only one consciousness is deeply a kind of, you're deeply safe. You're deep. Richard isn't safe. Richard is one amongst many and very vulnerable. There's one consciousness and nothing outside it. Nothing can hurt it. Now, to become aware of that and to live with that doesn't change the vulnerability of Richard, but it opens me to this self-evident deep safety and, in a way, confidence and trust. This is for exploring. I can only testify to the value of this discovery of what you are. All right, so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes now. Now we do a bit closed eye mindfulness or meditation, but along the same lines, because what I'm hoping to do today is provide ways for you to access that inner spaciousness or inner silence or inner stillness that is not apart from the sound and movement and form. Now be aware of the darkness and ask yourself, simple question, how big is the darkness? Well, I don't find a second to compare it with. It's single. And does that darkness have a clear boundary and therefore, bumps up against something else and is contained by other objects like everything in the room was? I said, no, it just fades out. I can't tell where it ends. It's not contained. Now, this seems to me, I suggest, true of all the senses. So if you now go to sounds and just listen to sounds, I'm going to call any sounds you can hear the field of sound, just for convenience. So you've got my voice, and you might have ringing in the ears, and you might have traffic, and they're all changing, and some are loud and some are soft. And in fact, I think anything you attend to becomes sort of the center of the field of sound. See? My voice perhaps now, and all these sounds going on. But the same question, can you find a clear boundary to this field of sound? Or does it just get kind of fainter and fainter, like the edge of the field of view, and then fade out into silence? But there's no clear distinction between those faint sounds and the silence. See? Now, I say, it's just a way of describing it, all these sounds are happening in that silence and coming and going in the silence. Or I would even say they come out of that silence, you see, without me knowing how, or even knowing exactly what I'm going to say next or what sounds are going to happen next. But this, to me, indicates that this silence is not a dead silence. It's just irrepressibly creative. That's your true nature, irrepressibly creative, inventive, fertile, productive. And any of the sounds that are happening is a bit like watching a program on the TV. And you get all kinds of violent things happening in a thriller film, you see, but it doesn't hurt the screen. And you know that, you see, even though you get drawn in to the drama. Well, all these sounds, I say, are going on and they don't hurt the silence. Even though I get drawn in and overlook and forget the silence is always there. The screen is always there. And the screen isn't apart from the sounds. They come out of it. Yeah. But to be aware, to know where the silence is, to recognize it's always there, always available, you see, even when there are lots of crazy things going on, is to have this safe place to operate from, to return to rest in, to celebrate. And the sounds are happening in the space that the darkness is happening in, as it were. And now go to your body sensations, which we so easily identify with, you see. And they're changing. I'm going to call that the field of sound, field of sensation. And really, one of the kind of keys is to, as much as you can, put aside what you know. So this is for 5-year-olds, and what you've learned and what you imagine, and just go to the actual experience. See? And as a way of doing this, I'm going to invite you to imagine, as well as you can, that you're a baby and you've just been born and you haven't even opened your eyes yet. And you were like that one once. So, I mean, not totally unfamiliar. It's deep, deep, deep in your consciousness, I suggest. And in that place where imagining you're a baby and you've just been born, see, or even if you're in the womb, and you've not yet got language, you haven't yet opened your eyes, you've never seen a picture of yourself, you don't understand anything yet. So even if someone was to talk about you, it would be just sounds happening in the silence, so to speak. See? And these sensations, if you go to the sensation you call your right hand, now you've got the sensation, but as a baby, that wouldn't be your hand. It would just be sensations floating in the middle of nothing. Of course, you wouldn't put it in these terms. See? And people sometimes describe the field of sensation, this field of sensation, as a cloud. And I think there's a way of getting away from our image of it, the shape of it, as a body. See? So be aware of the whole field of sensation. And I suggest that as a baby, it's just a cloud. Does it have a clear edge? Now, society gives us an image, the image of our body, and that's got a clear edge. You saw it on the screen. It's got things on the other side. But the inside story, your experience, I find I can't say where this field of sensation ends. And it's not surrounded by anything. It's kind of happening in absence of sensation or space or emptiness. And so I can reframe what I am here and say, well, as this field of sensation, I'm not inside anything. I'm not contained. Freedom. Inner freedom. And how big is this field of sensation? There is not a second to compare it with. It's single. Now, go back to your right hand. See, that sensation of your right hand. And there it is, and probably fairly relaxed. And I say, arising there in the nothingness, in awareness, in consciousness, on the screen, doesn't affect the screen, but is happening there on the screen, you see. And now make it into a fist, so you get a bit of tension there, you get stress. Now, does that stress affect the screen, affect the emptiness, affect consciousness? Just, if you had a tense situation on the TV, would it affect the screen? I say, no, it doesn't. See, there it is. I'm attending to that tension in my hand, but it's not affecting this space in which it's happening. Now, relax your hand. Now, this does not mean the stress goes away, but it provides you with access to a place that's free of stress, always. That's your true nature, I say. This is for enjoying, accessing, drawing on, celebrating, relaxing into. And I find if I'm in bed and can't go to sleep, I just kind of become aware of the sensations. If I'm floating on the surface of vast ocean of nothing, you see, just a metaphor. And I believe we're all in the same wonderful condition, that nearer to you than the sensation of your breathing is this freedom, openness. Always there, not an achievement, a discovery. And now be aware of whatever you're thinking and feeling. See? And you can think of a number, there's a thought, see, or think of a mountain or a river. See? Now, do you know where these thoughts come from? See, I mean, observe. You see, think of a number. Whoa, it just appears magically. Do you know how you do it? I don't. Do you know what you're going to be thinking next? I don't. Some Buddhists say mind comes out of no mind. There you are. I say a good description. Now, if you call all your thoughts, feelings, memories, judgments, anticipations, fears, the field of mind, like we had the field of darkness, field of sound, field of sensation, see? Now we've got the field of mind, and it is complicated. You can be aware of it. You don't have to understand it to be aware of it. It's changing. You see? Does it have a clear edge? Again, the Buddhists talk about big mind. You see, big mind. Is your mind small, or is it impossible to say how big it is? I say impossible. It just fades out into no mind, if you like. It's not contained. There isn't a second field of mind, in my experience, that I can compare it with. It's single. And again, noticing that these thoughts are coming out of nowhere tells me that this nowhere, this no mind, is just incredibly creative, resourceful, unlimited. No conditions apply. Mysterious. Hugely impressive. And what all of this is about you. Are you in a box? Are you small? Do you have a boundary? Not what society says, or most of society says, you see. Not what you see in the mirror. That's your appearance at that range. But what you are, where you are. Only you are in a position to sense yourself now. No one is in a position to tell you. I'm just reporting my experience. I find no boundary. I find a single consciousness, one consciousness. I find sounds and thoughts coming out of that mystery, see, and being aware that I have no boundary, that all that is happening does not stain the screen, does not hurt the screen, does not hurt me in my deepest nature, is well worth knowing. Take a deeper breath and open your eyes. And I say essentially nothing has changed. You've got colors and shapes in the great emptiness now. And thoughts and feelings. Lots of faces in your faceless emptiness, you see. Now I'm going to just give you a little bit of another angle on all of this to indicate how this makes sense and how deeply important it is. And this is developmental. So put forward to you just a map of your own development and your own potential. And it's 4 stages: baby, child, adult, and headless seer, or whatever you want to call it. So the baby I'm going to speak in my language, my jargon, you know. Baby's headless. When I was a baby, I was headless. No idea in my head. When I was with my mother, it wasn't face to face. I just had her face, empty for her, you see. This was the boundary of my world. And when mum went, mum's disappeared. Or dropped the spoon, it's gone. Because this is just what's given, see. Close my eyes, the world's gone. Open my eyes, the world appears, you see. Stage 1, baby, headless. Don't think of it like that. Stage 2, the child. What this means, in my terms, in our terms, is through language, I am developing the ability to go out about 6 feet, turn around and see myself through the eyes of others. Because I listen to what people tell me they see from their relativity. They say, I see your head. So I learn to accept that here, you see. And as it were, put that face on that I can't see, or imagine putting it on. We call it playing the face game. I'm going to play the game of having a face and acting as if I'm behind a face which I can't see. And one of the means by which I learn to do that is the mirror. And you can even look at the screen, and what you're told by society is that that thing there we see here, you see, or for me. So I've got to learn to reach in, pull it out, make it bigger, turn it the other way around because it's facing the wrong way. Got 2 eyes, you see, and put it on and act as if I'm behind that. And learn to marry all these sensations that I can't see with that image. So I know this is my mouth and this is my eye and this is my head, you see. So as a child, I am learning to get in the box, learning to map these sensations, you see, and become self-conscious. And society tells me that's what I am, and I have to take that on board, and I want to, because I want to join in. And anyway, there's no option, no option. You've got to take on your identity, of course, see. But by the time we're an adult, we are in the 3rd stage, deeply identified with that image, and have a deep sense that that's what you are, that's what I am, and I'm small and I'm limited and I'm face to face with others and separate. So this is, absolutely vital for being a functioning member of society. But now what is happening in my terms is I'm overlooking my faceless true nature, and society denies it and sort of gaslights me and says, I say, hey, I'm faceless, and society says, no, you're not. I say, well, there's nothing here for me. My hands disappear. Yeah, that's an illusion. That's silly. That's stupid. That's irrelevant. There's 9 billion of us, and we all see your head there. And so, get on board. So I shrink into this image, you see, and then wonder why I feel separate and separate from nature and animals, and why I feel self-conscious, and why I can't function because I feel so awkward and small and stiff and limited and running out of ideas and all of this, you see. Well, surprise, surprise, you see. So the thing is, I suggest, don't stop at that stage. Go on to the next one and reawaken to your point of view, which is headless, which is free, not in a box, while still accepting for others, I'm behind a face for you and you're behind a face for me. But intrinsically for me, I'm reawakening to what has always been here, but now coming back to it with fresh eyes and valuing it. See? And one of the things, for example, for self-consciousness, is people get very, you feel it. It's not just a thought, it's a very deep feeling. And it's connected with, for me, feelings and sensations. And you feel small. It takes time to let this sink in. But to be aware that from my point of view, my sensations are kind of invisible, from my point of view. That the field of sensation doesn't have a boundary, that it's not separate from the field of vision, and all, is to gradually let it sink in that from my point of view, I'm not in a box. And back of me is this incredibly creative source. And that it enables me when I'm with people to connect, because I'm out of the way, see. And it enables me when I'm traveling to see I'm the still center of the turning wheel, the hub. Because when I'm driving, I'm not moving, the scenery is moving through me. And when I'm traveling, I'm not going from there to here to there. I'm still, and wherever I'm traveling to arrives in me. See, like this meeting has arrived in me. It's a different way of living. And it is truly marvelous. Yeah. Now, one of the, I suppose we've got about 10 minutes, is that right? And then we go into the next phase. I've been on a long journey with this. And when I came across this, I was 17. I'm 72 now. And for whatever reason, it, I took to it. Whoa, look, whoa. I believed what I saw, not what society said. Or rather, one person in society, Douglas Harding, said, look for yourself, look there, and take what you find to be true from your point of view. I mean, it really makes sense. So I did. You know. But the other thing that happened to me was that I thought, that is so brilliant, I want to share that. Now, most people don't go on to being committed to sharing it all my life. I've been a therapist, I've earned a living and all of that, but this is where I've been coming from, and I've always worked with it and run workshops. So I've learned a lot along the way. And, I was very young and experienced when I started out, and, arrogant, I think. But you learn as you go along. And one of the things that I have enjoyed discovering is, or taking in and accepting, is that this is just simply true for everyone. No one can see their own head, to put it so simply. No one can see their own head. Instead, they see the other. We are built open for each other, whether we accept it or not. This is where I'm coming from. So everyone here, everyone on the planet, I say, is looking out the same single eye with a different view. And we're in a dream because we're out there seeing ourselves from everyone else's point of view as head to head and separate and in conflict and confronting one another. And look where we are now with the weapons we've got. I mean, we've always been thinking, for so long we've been confronting each other, but we couldn't just blow ourselves up like we do now. So, I mean, we are obviously at a crucial point with the climate as well. There's so many things we're all doing. What I'm here among, many other people doing the same in their own way, saying, uh, each of us is actually built open, face to no face, see. So I'm talking to you, really, I hope, in my heart, I hope, to others who are in the same wonderful condition as I am, see. Is namaste. I honor the vast open space in you that is the same as in me, and I see it in me and I accept it's in you, and you're looking out with your unique view from there, you see, from that one, the one that is many. And this deepening acceptance, recognition, celebration that we are each the one, see, that we are each in this wonderful condition. I am in many groups where this is celebrated, is seen, and we're all learning together to take it in, this wonderful fact about us all, and that each of us has a different response to this nonverbal mystery. So there isn't a right answer. See, I'm just singing my song, sharing my response, and sharing this simple way of having access. Because the thing is, I say, the Headless Way provides a way of having access to this reality that we all are, this openness. And the work, showing it is easy. You can't see your head, instead you see the world. The work is to get it out there and make it available so that anyone who wants to be aware of it has access to it. Not everyone wants to be aware of it. See? So you could see me in my, place in London, and there I am in the room. But now I think you understand that from my point of view, I'm not like that. I'm looking out of boundless awareness, or I am that boundless awareness, and you're all in me. You're all in this awareness. And another simple way of putting it is that, yeah, from the outside, I'm contained in that room. You see, I'm in that room in London. Yeah. But when I look, I can see that wall, I can see that wall, see the ceiling and the floor. I'm looking at the corner of the room. And the ceiling disappears here, and the walls open out to here, and the ceiling and the floor open out like a mouth. Not to another wall here for me. You're out there looking at me through the camera, so you see the wall, but I don't. I way out. I'm freedom. I'm not in this room in London. This room, in as much as whatever I can see of it, is in me. I believe we're all in the same wonderful condition, you see. So now, looking at me, you know what I look like, but at least I'm telling you, I'm like you. I'm this open space full of everything. All right. Okay. Well, one last thing, I think, and then see what the Q&A is or whatever. I have a garden, and over November, December, I did a lot of work in it. And then in January, I planted 70 roses, bare root roses. They're starting to send out shoots. But one of the things that it made me think of is this earth, of how much is going on under the surface. And uh, as I see things beginning to grow, you think, whoa, that is evidence of how fertile, powerful the earth is. And it's a symbol for your true nature, this emptiness. You can't see what's going on, as it were. But my God, look what. One other thing then is to put this to you. You've heard the image, the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is a problem that we're not talking about. It's really getting in the way. I mean, it's so big you can't even see the other people in the room, and it's stifling your energy, and it's just great big weight, and nothing can really work. And you see, so it's really important, if you've got the courage, to talk about the elephant in the room. And it's uncomfortable to begin with, but my God, once you've done it, it frees up energy. Your true nature is like this. Your headless true nature is like this. So I call it the tiger in the room, because we're not talking about this reality, this thing, but it's not a problem, essentially, like the elephant is. It's a wonderful, wild, like a tiger, wild, beautiful, powerful, see, energetic, and a bit dangerous. It's not domesticated, your true nature. But if we don't bring it onto the front burner, if we don't admit it, if we don't bring it into our lives, if we don't activate it when we're with each other and see we're out the way for the other, if we don't activate it, we are suppressing it. It doesn't like being suppressed. And we are not drawing on that incredible energy and creativity and freedom that comes from saying yes to, to who we really are. Yeah. So I'm in favor of freeing the tiger.